A woman saves a lion trapped in a deadly snare, and his reaction left everyone in shock. The 450-pound male lion's agonized roar echoed across the Kenyan savannah as wildlife veterinarian Dr. Jessica Martinez approached the massive predator whose hind leg was being slowly severed by a wire snare that had tightened with every desperate attempt to escape, leaving him just hours away from bleeding to death or losing his limb forever. You absolutely need to watch this incredible rescue until the very end, because what this lion did after Dr. Martinez freed him will challenge everything you think you know about wild animal gratitude and intelligence. So make sure to hit that like button and follow our channel, because this true story proves that compassion can create bonds that transcend the boundaries between predator and human. The emergency call came through on Dr. Martinez's radio at 6:23 in the morning on what had started as a routine patrol day in the Amboseli National Park. Her colleague, Ranger David Kipui, had discovered the trapped lion during his morning rounds and immediately recognized that this was a life-or-death situation requiring immediate veterinary intervention. "Jessica, we've got a big male in serious trouble about 12 kilometers south of the main camp," David's voice crackled through the static. "He's caught in a poacher's snare, and from what I can see, he's been fighting it for at least 2 days. The wire is cutting deep into his leg, and he's losing a lot of blood." Dr. Martinez had been working with large African predators for 8 years, but the urgency in David's voice told her this rescue would be unlike any she had attempted before. She grabbed her emergency veterinary kit, including heavy-duty wire cutters, sedation equipment, and advanced wound treatment supplies, knowing that every minute of delay could mean the difference between saving the lion's leg and watching him die a slow, agonizing death. The drive to the location took 45 minutes over rough terrain, and what Dr. Martinez saw when she arrived made her stomach turn with a combination of rage and heartbreak. The magnificent lion, easily one of the largest males she had ever encountered, lay on his side in the sparse shade of an acacia tree, his golden coat matted with blood, and his amber eyes dulled by pain and exhaustion. The snare itself was a brutal piece of craftsmanship designed by poachers who cared nothing for the suffering they inflicted. Made from twisted steel wire with a slip-knot mechanism, it had tightened around the lion's right hind leg just above the paw, cutting through fur, skin, and muscle with surgical precision. Every movement the lion had made to escape had only made his situation worse. "Jesus Christ," Dr. Martinez whispered as she studied the scene through her binoculars. "How long has he been like this, David?" David, a 20-year veteran of Kenya's wildlife service, had seen countless victims of poaching snares, but this case affected him deeply. "Based on the blood trail and the condition of the surrounding vegetation, I'd estimate he's been trapped for at least 48 hours, maybe longer. He's been trying to chew his own leg off to escape." The evidence of the lion's desperate attempts to free himself was heartbreaking. Bite marks covered the wire snare where he had tried to sever it with his powerful jaws, only to discover that the steel was too strong for even his impressive teeth to cut through. The ground around the trap was churned into a bloody mess from his struggles, and deep claw marks in the earth showed how he had tried to dig himself out. But what struck Dr. Martinez most was the lion's demeanor as she approached. Despite his obvious pain, and the fact that she represented the same species responsible for his predicament, the massive predator showed no signs of aggression. His eyes tracked her movements with what seemed like desperate hope rather than the territorial fury she would normally expect from a cornered male lion. "He knows we're here to help," Dr. Martinez observed, her voice filled with amazement. "Look at his body language, David. He's not in attack mode despite being trapped and in agony. It's like he understands that we're his only chance for survival." The challenge of treating a conscious 450-pound lion couldn't be underestimated, but Dr. Martinez recognized that full sedation carried significant risks for an animal already weakened by blood loss and dehydration. She made the decision to use a mild tranquilizer that would calm the lion without completely incapacitating him, allowing her to work while he remained alert enough to assist in his own rescue. "I'm going to need you to keep talking to him while I work," she told David as she prepared the tranquilizer dart. "Lions are highly intelligent animals, and this guy has already shown that he's capable of recognizing friend from foe. Your voice will help keep him calm while I try to cut through this snare." The approach to the trapped lion required every ounce of Dr. Martinez's experience and courage. As she moved closer, she could see the full extent of the damage the snare had inflicted. The wire had cut completely through the skin and was beginning to sever muscle tissue. A few more hours, and the lion would have either bled to death or lost his leg entirely. "Easy, big guy," she said softly as she knelt just out of reach of his massive paws. "I know you're hurting, and I know you're scared, but we're going to get you out of this. I promise." The lion's response was extraordinary. Instead of snarling or attempting to strike at the approaching human, he actually moved his trapped leg slightly toward Dr. Martinez, as if presenting it for examination. His amber eyes remained fixed on her face with an intensity that suggested he was not only aware of her intentions, but was actively cooperating with the rescue effort. David documented the entire rescue process on camera, creating a record that would later be studied by animal behaviorists around the world. The footage shows Dr. Martinez working with steady hands to position her wire cutters around the snare while the lion lay perfectly still, his massive head resting on the ground, but his eyes alert and focused on every movement of his rescuer. "The trust this animal is showing is unprecedented," David whispered into his radio as he provided updates to park headquarters. "I've been working with lions for 2 decades, and I've never seen anything like this." It's as if he understands that Dr. Martinez is trying to save his life. The actual cutting of the snare required precision and patience that tested every skill Dr. Martinez had developed during her veterinary training. The steel wire was thick and had been twisted tight by the lion's struggles, making it incredibly difficult to access with the cutters. One wrong move could either injure the lion further or trigger a defensive reaction that could prove fatal for the rescuer. But throughout the 30-minute procedure, the lion remained completely cooperative. When Dr. Martinez needed to adjust the position of his leg to get better access to the snare, the massive predator actually helped by shifting his weight and moving his limb in the direction she indicated. The level of communication and trust displayed defied everything experts thought they knew about wild animal behavior. "Almost there, beautiful boy," Dr. Martinez said as she worked the cutters into position for the final cut. "One more snip, and you're going to be free." The moment when the snare finally separated was captured in a photograph that would later become one of the most famous wildlife rescue images ever taken. The relief in the lion's eyes was unmistakable as the pressure on his wounded leg was finally released after what had probably been the longest and most painful experience of his life. The moment the snare released its deadly grip, the lion's reaction was unlike anything Dr. Martinez had witnessed in her years of wildlife rescue work. Instead of immediately trying to stand or flee, as would be expected from a wild predator suddenly freed from captivity, the massive male remained perfectly still and turned his great head to look directly into her eyes with an expression that could only be described as profound gratitude. "My God, David, are you getting this on camera?" Dr. Martinez whispered, her voice trembling with emotion as she realized she was experiencing a moment of interspecies communication that challenged everything she had learned about animal behavior in veterinary school. The lion's leg was severely damaged but salvageable. The wire snare had cut through several layers of muscle tissue and nicked a major blood vessel. But Dr. Martinez's quick intervention had prevented permanent disability or death. As she began cleaning and treating the wound, the lion continued to demonstrate the same extraordinary cooperation he had shown during the cutting process. "I need to irrigate this wound with saline solution, and it's going to sting quite a bit," she explained to the lion as if he were a human patient. "Try to hold still for me, big guy. This is going to help prevent infection." What happened next left both rescuers speechless. The lion actually extended his injured leg toward Dr. Martinez, presenting the wound for treatment in a gesture that seemed to indicate he not only understood her intentions, but was actively participating in his own medical care. David's camera captured every moment of this unprecedented display of trust between predator and human. The wound cleaning and treatment process took nearly 2 hours, during which the lion never once showed aggression or attempted to withdraw from Dr. Martinez's administrations. She administered antibiotics, applied antiseptic treatments, and carefully bandaged the injured leg, while the massive predator watched her every movement with calm, intelligent eyes. This level of cooperation from a wild lion is absolutely unheard of, Dr. Martinez told the documentary crew that arrived to film the rescue. He's allowing me to perform medical procedures that would normally require full sedation. It's as if he understands that I'm trying to heal him rather than harm him. But the truly remarkable moment came when Dr. Martinez finished her treatment and began packing up her medical equipment. The lion, who could have easily walked away or retreated to a safe distance, instead remained beside her and did something that would be replayed millions of times on social media and wildlife documentaries around the world. The massive predator gently placed his enormous paw on Dr. Martinez's shoulder, applying just enough pressure to get her attention, but being careful not to extend his claws. When she turned to look at him, the lion leaned forward and briefly touched his forehead to hers in what could only be interpreted as a gesture of gratitude and affection. "He's saying thank you," Dr. Martinez said through tears, her voice barely audible, as she experienced what she would later describe as the most humbling moment of her career. "This wild lion is actually thanking me for saving his life." David documented the entire interaction, creating footage that would later be studied by animal behaviorists from Harvard, Oxford, and the University of California. The video shows clearly that the lion's gesture was deliberate and gentle, demonstrating a level of emotional intelligence and social awareness that redefined scientific understanding of large predator cognition. Dr. Sarah Chen, a leading expert in animal psychology from Stanford University, analyzed the footage extensively before publishing her findings in the Journal of Wildlife Behavior. "What we're seeing here represents a breakthrough in our understanding of animal consciousness," she wrote. "This lion demonstrated planning, emotional recognition, gratitude expression, and impulse control at levels previously thought impossible for wild predators." The rescue story might have ended there, but the lion had other plans. Instead of immediately returning to his territory or seeking out his pride, he remained near the rescue site for the rest of the day, seemingly reluctant to leave Dr. Martinez and David. When they finally prepared to return to park headquarters, the lion actually followed their vehicle for nearly 2 miles before finally stopping at the boundary of his territorial range. "It's like he doesn't want to say goodbye," David observed as they watched the massive predator standing motionless beside the dirt road, his golden form silhouetted against the setting sun. "I've been working with lions my entire career, and I've never seen behavior like this." The story took an even more extraordinary turn 3 days later when Dr. Martinez returned to check on the lion's recovery progress. Rangers had been monitoring his movements through radio telemetry, and reports indicated that his injury was healing well, and he was moving normally through his territory. But what she discovered when she arrived at his usual resting area defied all expectations. The lion had been waiting for her return. Park surveillance cameras had captured him visiting the original rescue site every day since the incident, spending several hours each afternoon lying in the exact spot where Dr. Martinez had freed him from the snare. When her Land Rover appeared on the horizon, the lion immediately began walking toward the vehicle, moving with obvious excitement despite his healing injury. "This is unprecedented behavior," Dr. Martinez radioed to park headquarters as she watched the approaching lion. "He's actively seeking human contact, which goes against every instinct wild lions should possess. This rescue has created a bond that challenges our entire understanding of predator psychology." The reunion between rescuer and rescued was captured on film by a National Geographic crew that had traveled to Kenya specifically to document this remarkable story. The footage shows the lion approaching Dr. Martinez's vehicle with clear signs of recognition and pleasure, his tail raised in a gesture typically associated with friendly social interaction among lions. But perhaps the most amazing moment came when Dr. Martinez stepped out of her vehicle to examine the lion's healing wound. The massive predator immediately lay down and extended his injured leg for inspection, just as he had done during the original rescue. His trust in her remained absolute, despite 3 days of separation that should have allowed his natural wariness of humans to reassert itself. "His leg is healing beautifully," Dr. Martinez announced to the camera crew as she examined the injury site. "No signs of infection, good blood flow, and the muscle tissue is regenerating properly. From a medical standpoint, this rescue was completely successful." But the medical success was overshadowed by the psychological and emotional aspects of the story. The lion's behavior suggested that the rescue had created a permanent change in his perception of humans, specifically Dr. Martinez. Animal behavior experts struggled to explain how a wild predator could form such a specific and lasting attachment to an individual human. Dr. Robert Harrison, from the International Wildlife Research Foundation, arrived to study the phenomenon firsthand. After observing multiple interactions between Dr. Martinez and the lion over a 2-week period, he published findings that would revolutionize understanding of animal emotional capacity. This lion has demonstrated the ability to distinguish between individual humans, remember specific acts of kindness, and express ongoing gratitude for assistance received, Dr. Harrison wrote in his report. These behaviors suggest levels of emotional sophistication that challenge fundamental assumptions about wild animal consciousness and social capability. The bond between Dr. Martinez and the lion became a symbol of hope for wildlife conservation efforts throughout Africa. Their story was featured in documentaries, scientific journals, and educational programs that highlighted the intelligence and emotional depth of animals that are often viewed only as dangerous predators or tourism attractions. The story that would cement this rescue as one of the most extraordinary human-animal bonds ever documented began to unfold 6 months later, when Dr. Martinez received an emergency call that would test the depth of the connection she had formed with the lion she had saved. Park rangers reported that the same male lion was in trouble again, but this time the situation was far more complex and dangerous. "Jessica, you need to get out here immediately," Ranger David Kipui's voice carried urgent concern through the radio static. "Your lion friend has got himself into a situation that's going to require your specific expertise. He's been injured in a territorial fight, and he's refusing to let any of our veterinary team get close enough to help him." The drive to the location filled Dr. Martinez with dread and anticipation. 6 months had passed since the Snare rescue, during which she had maintained periodic contact with the lion through her research work in the park. Each encounter had reinforced the extraordinary bond between them, but she had never tested whether that trust would extend to a situation where the lion was in severe pain and potentially more defensive. What she discovered when she arrived at the scene was both heartbreaking and remarkable. The lion, now bearing fresh scars from a brutal territorial battle with a younger rival, lay beneath his favorite acacia tree with deep claw wounds across his shoulder and a serious bite injury to his neck. 3 different veterinarians had attempted to approach him for treatment, but the lion had growled and shown clear signs of aggression toward each of them. "He's been lying there for 2 days, refusing food and water," David explained as they observed from a safe distance. Dr. Williams, Dr. Parker, and Dr. Stone have all tried to get close enough to assess his injuries, but he won't let them within 50 feet. "He's going to die from infection or blood loss if we can't treat those wounds soon." But the moment Dr. Martinez stepped out of her vehicle, the lion's entire demeanor changed. His head lifted immediately, his amber eyes focusing on her familiar figure with what appeared to be relief rather than the wariness he had shown toward the other veterinarians. As she began walking slowly toward him, the massive predator actually struggled to his feet and took several painful steps in her direction. "Hello again, beautiful boy," Dr. Martinez said softly as she approached the injured lion. "I heard you've been giving everyone else a hard time, but I'm betting you'll let me take a look at those wounds." The lion's response was immediate and unmistakable. He lay back down and rolled slightly onto his side, exposing his injured shoulder and neck for examination in a gesture that demonstrated complete trust in Dr. Martinez's intentions. The other veterinarians watched in amazement as she was able to approach and begin examining wounds that had been completely inaccessible to them just minutes earlier. "This is absolutely unprecedented," Dr. Williams told the growing crowd of researchers and park officials who had gathered to witness the extraordinary interaction. "This lion has formed a specific bond with Dr. Martinez that overrides his natural pain-driven defensiveness. He trusts her in ways that challenge everything we understand about wild animal behavior." The treatment process revealed the full extent of the lion's injuries, which were severe enough to be life-threatening without proper medical intervention. The shoulder wounds required surgical cleaning and suturing, while the neck injury needed immediate antibiotic treatment to prevent sepsis. Under normal circumstances, such extensive treatment would require full sedation and a sterile medical facility. But working with this particular lion under field conditions, Dr. Martinez was able to perform procedures that should have been impossible. The massive predator remained perfectly still throughout the 2-hour treatment process, even when she was suturing deep wounds that must have caused significant pain. His eyes never left her face, and his calm breathing suggested a level of trust and relaxation that defied medical explanation. I'm watching a wild lion receive major medical treatment without sedation, and he's as calm as a domestic pet, Dr. Stone observed while documenting the procedure. This relationship has created possibilities for wildlife medicine that we never imagined could exist. The most remarkable moment came when Dr. Martinez finished treating the wounds and began applying bandages to protect the sutures. Lion, sensing that the medical procedure was complete, gently nuzzled her shoulder with his massive head and made soft chuffing sounds that animal behaviorists recognize as expressions of contentment and gratitude. But the story's most extraordinary chapter was yet to be written. 3 weeks later, as Dr. Martinez was conducting routine research activities in another section of the park, she received a radio call that would demonstrate the true depth of the lion's intelligence and emotional capacity. "Jessica, you're not going to believe this," David's excited voice crackled through the radio. "Your lion friend has brought you a gift. He's waiting at your usual meeting spot with something you need to see." When Dr. Martinez arrived at the location where she typically encountered the lion during her research visits, she found him lying calmly beside a canvas tarp that contained something that left her speechless. The lion had somehow captured and delivered, completely unharmed, a poacher who had been setting illegal snares throughout the park. The poacher, a local man named Samuel Kosh, who had been evading park rangers for months, was unconscious but uninjured. Investigation revealed that the lion had somehow tracked the man to his snare-setting location, cornered him without causing physical harm, and then transported him to the meeting spot where he knew Dr. Martinez would eventually appear. This lion has demonstrated problem-solving abilities and forward planning that challenge our entire understanding of predator intelligence, Dr. Harrison wrote in his subsequent research paper. He identified a threat to his territory and other animals, neutralized that threat through non-lethal means, and delivered the threat to humans who could address it permanently. The captured poacher provided information that led to the arrest of an entire illegal hunting ring responsible for dozens of animal deaths throughout Kenya's national park system. The lion's intervention had single-handedly broken up a criminal operation that had been devastating local wildlife populations for years. Dr. Martinez's final encounter with the lion occurred 1 year after the original Snare rescue, when she was preparing to return to the United States to take a position at the San Diego Zoo's wildlife conservation program. The lion seemed to sense that this would be their last meeting, displaying behaviors that suggested he understood the permanence of the approaching separation. "I have to go now, beautiful boy," she told him as they sat together beneath the acacia tree where their relationship had begun. "But I want you to know that saving you changed my life as much as it changed yours. You taught me that the bonds between species can be deeper than anything we ever imagined." The lion's farewell gesture was captured in photographs that would later be displayed in wildlife conservation museums around the world. He approached Dr. Martinez one final time, placed his massive paw gently on her hand, and maintained eye contact for several moments in what could only be interpreted as a deliberate goodbye. Today, Dr. Martinez leads the International Wildlife Rescue Program, using the techniques she developed during her work with the lion to revolutionize how veterinarians approach the treatment of large predators. Her story has inspired a new generation of wildlife conservationists and fundamentally changed how scientists understand the emotional and intellectual capabilities of wild animals. The lion, now recognized as one of the most studied and celebrated wild animals in Africa, continues to thrive in Amboseli National Park. Researchers have documented his ongoing role as a protector of his territory against poaching activities, suggesting that his rescue experience created lasting changes in his behavior toward both humans and conservation efforts. The original snare that nearly cost the lion his life is now displayed at the Kenya Wildlife Service headquarters as a reminder of the cruelty that threatens Africa's magnificent wildlife. But beside it hangs a photograph of Dr. Martinez and the lion touching foreheads, a symbol of hope that proves compassion can create miracles that transcend all boundaries between species. If this incredible true story of rescue, gratitude, and unbreakable bonds has moved you as much as it moved us, please hit that like button and follow our channel for more amazing real-life encounters that prove the animal kingdom possesses depths of intelligence and emotion beyond our wildest imagination. Remember, sometimes the greatest rewards come from the courage to help those who cannot help themselves, and love truly knows no boundaries between species. The woman who risked everything to save a trapped lion discovered that her act of compassion had created a friendship that would change both their lives forever, proving that heroes come in all forms and that kindness is the universal language that connects all living beings.